Viewer discretion is advised.
Sir, what is it that we're looking at here?
This is a photograph of the contents of bag number 8.
And what was produced from bag number 8?
Bag number 8 contained a hammer, a pair of wire snips, a hatchet, and a hacksaw with red-brown stains on it.
4:55 in the morning, January 1st, 2023. While most of America slept off champagne headaches, someone in a quiet Massachusetts home was typing 4 words into Google: best ways to dispose of a body. 30 minutes later, how long before a body starts to smell? By noon, can you be charged with murder without a body? 3 years later, in December 2025, a Norfolk County courtroom went silent as prosecutors displayed photos of a blood-stained hacksaw pulled from a dumpster. Lab results confirmed Ana Walshe's DNA on the blade and handle, a mixture of both Brian's and Ana's DNA on a protective suit. The man who claimed his wife simply died of natural causes now faced the physical evidence that would unravel every word he'd spoken. This is the story of how a New Year's celebration became a crime scene, how a mother of 3 vanished without a trace, and how DNA on a hacksaw may finally deliver justice. But before Ana Walshe became a headline, she was a woman who built everything from nothing. And understanding who she was makes what happened to her even more devastating. If Ana's story moves you, if you believe her 3 sons deserve to know the truth, please share this video with someone who cares about justice, and comment your thoughts respectfully, because silence protects no one. Before we begin, I need to say something. You might have heard about this case before. You might think you know what happened. But I promise you, when you see how every piece connects, from who Ana really was to what that hacksaw revealed in court this December, you'll understand this tragedy in a way headlines never captured. I've included timestamps below if you're looking for specific parts. But I'm asking you to watch this all the way through. Ana's story deserves that. Her sons deserve that. And honestly, the full picture is the only way any of this makes sense. To everyone here, thank you. To those of you coming back to this channel, you're the reason we can keep telling these stories. And to anyone new, welcome. Let's make sure Ana is remembered for who she was, not just how she died. Ana Ljubičić was born in Belgrade, Serbia, in 1983. She grew up during turbulent times in the Balkans, but like so many immigrants, she saw America as a place where hard work could build a better life. In 2005, at 22 years old, she arrived in the United States with a bachelor's degree in French language and literature from the University of Belgrade, and a determination to succeed. Her first jobs were humble. She worked as a cleaning attendant at the Inn at Little Washington in Virginia. Then, as a server, she moved to New York City briefly before settling in Massachusetts, where she became a reservations manager at the Wheatley Hotel in Lenox. For more than 2 years, she climbed the ladder in hospitality, learning the business from the ground up. Ana was known for her style, her ambition, and her presence on social media, where she shared inspirational messages about goal setting and personal success. Friends described her as elegant, driven, someone who lit up every room. She posted photos of her journey from Serbia to America, documenting how far she'd come, both personally and professionally. In 2015, she married Brian Walshe. They started a family quickly, welcoming 3 sons in the years that followed. By all appearances, they had it all. A beautiful home in Cohasset, Massachusetts, an affluent coastal suburb south of Boston, another residence in Washington, D.C., 3 healthy children. By February 2022, Ana had reached what Brian himself called her dream job. Regional General Manager at Tishman Speyer, a major real estate firm in Washington, D.C. She split her time between D, C during the week and cohabitate on weekends to be with her children. But beneath the Instagram perfect surface, cracks were forming. Brian Walshe had a past. In 2021, he pleaded guilty in federal court to fraud charges involving the sale of fake Andy Warhol paintings, swindling a buyer out of $80,000. At the time of Ana's disappearance, he was on house arrest awaiting sentencing. The couple faced financial pressure, reputational damage, and the strain of living apart during the week. By late 2022, Ana had begun an intimate relationship with William Fastow, a real estate broker who sold her a townhouse in Washington, D.C. in March 2022. What started as a professional connection became close friendship, then something more serious. They spent time together on his sailboat, went to dinners and bars, and by summer, Ana was planning a future that might not include Brian. She missed Thanksgiving that year to visit her sick mother in Serbia. She missed Christmas Eve and most of Christmas Day after her flight was cancelled. But she spent that time with Fastow. They had plans to celebrate New Year's together on January 4th, when they would discuss what merging their two families might look like. But Ana never made it to January 4th. On Christmas Day, 2022, Brian Walshe's phone searched for William Fastow's name. December 31st, 2022. Ana returned to Cohasset from Washington, D.C. The Walshe family prepared to celebrate New Year's Eve with Jem Mutlu, Ana's former boss and friend. He arrived around 8 p.m. By all accounts, the evening seemed normal. They had dinner. They talked. They rang in 2023 together. Mutlu later told investigators he left around 1 a.m. On January 1st. Ana was alive, at home with her husband and their 3 young sons, ages 2, 4, and 6. After Mutlu left, Ana tried to call her mother in Serbia, her sister, and her maid of honor. None were available. She sent a photo of herself and one of her sons to William Fastow. Around 4 a.m., Ana was last seen by a family member. What happened in the hours that followed would become the subject of a murder investigation, a trial 3 years later, and international attention from the United States to Serbia. According to Brian Walshe, Ana left their home between 6 and 7 a.m. for a rideshare to Boston's Logan Airport. He claimed she needed to catch an emergency flight to Washington, D.C. for a work issue at one of the properties she managed. But investigators would quickly discover Ana never boarded any flight. She never used her credit cards after January 1st. She never accessed her email. Her phone, last pinged at the Cohasset home on January 2nd at 3 a.m., went silent. No Uber or Lyft record showed she requested a ride that morning. Customs and Border Protection confirmed she never left the country after returning from a trip abroad in early December 2022. JetBlue records showed she was a no-show for a 6 a.m. flight from Boston to D.C. on January 3rd. Ana Walshe had vanished, and while the world would spend days searching for her, Brian Walshe was making other plans. January 1st, 2023, 4:52 a.m. On Brian Walshe's computer, a Google search. Best ways to dispose of a body. 3 minutes later, how long before body starts to smell? By 9:35. Can identification be made on partial human remains? 11:50 a. Can I use bleach to clean my wood floors from bloodstains? 12:10 p.m. What does bleach do to dead bodies? 1:43 p.m. Can the FBI tell when you accessed your phone? These are not the searches of a grieving husband wondering where his wife went. These are the searches of someone who already knew the answer. Over the next 3 days, according to testimony from Massachusetts State Police Trooper Nicholas Guarino, Brian Walshe's laptop and his son's iPad contained a litany of queries that painted a horrifying picture. Dismemberment and best ways to dispose of a body. How to stop a body from decomposing. Hacksaw best tool to dismember. Can you throw away body parts? How long for someone missing to inherit? Is it possible to clean DNA off a knife? 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to. He visited websites about cleaning blood with ammonia, bleach, and hydrogen peroxide. He watched YouTube videos on the same topics. He even visited a site called murdermurdermurder.com that detailed 6 ways to dispose of a body, and then he went shopping. Surveillance footage captured on January 2nd shows a man matching Brian Walshe's description at Home Depot in Rockland, Massachusetts, spending $450 on cleaning supplies. A Tyvek protective suit, a hacksaw, a hatchet, 20 pounds of baking soda, mops, buckets, towels, and more. Later that day, he visited other stores, buying Band-Aids, antibiotics, cutting instruments, ammonia, and additional cleaning materials. But the most damning evidence wouldn't come from what he bought. It would come from what he threw away. January 4th, 2023. At 11:45 a.m., the head of security for Tishman Speyer called Cohasset police requesting a welfare check on Ana Walshe. She hadn't shown up for work. Her car was in Washington. No one had heard from her since New Year's Day. And when they contacted Brian Walshe, he hadn't even filed a missing person report. That evening, police interviewed Brian at his home. He told them Ana left at 6:30 a.m. on January 1st for Washington, and he hadn't heard from her since. He claimed he spent January 1st with his mother in Swampscott, visiting a CVS and Whole Foods. But when investigators checked, there was no record of him at CVS or Whole Foods that day. Surveillance video told a different story. Footage from an apartment complex in Abington, where Brian's mother lived, showed a Volvo, matching the Walshe family car, pulling up to a fenced-in dumpster. A figure visible only as a dark silhouette exits the vehicle, carrying heavy trash bags, throws them into the bin, and drives away. January 8th, Brian Walshe was arrested for misleading police. January 9th, investigators searched the trash processing facility in Peabody, where the Abington dumpster contents had been taken. What they found was devastating.
So now what are we looking at in relation to that last image, sir?
Since that last photograph was taken, bench paper was put out onto the floor of the collection center in order to preserve the integrity of the evidence that we were collecting at that point.
And so if it went onto a piece of paper like this, was it going to be collected?
Potentially, yes.
And this bag, sir, that we see on the screen for Exhibit 52, did you have the opportunity to know what was inside this bag, Bag 1?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell us what was discovered inside of Bag 1?
Inside of Bag 1 was a pair of green boots, a black jacket with red-brown stains, and a bracelet inside of the pocket. There was a black purse with red-brown stains, a black wallet, and a pair of headphones inside of a case, as well as a pair of socks.
Was anything discovered as far as car keys?
Yes, there was a pair of Volkswagen keys as well.
Trash bags containing Ana's hunter boots, her Prada purse, her COVID-19 vaccination card, a Hermes watch, pieces of her clothing, items that proved she had never left for Washington. But it was the tools that told the real story.
Sir, what is it that we're looking at here?
This is a photograph of the contents of bag number 8.
And what was produced from bag number 8?
Bag number 8 contained a hammer, a pair of wire snips, a hatchet, and a hacksaw with red-brown stains on it.
And what are wire snips, and then what are shears?
They're sharpened tools that can be used to cut an item of interest.
So which one of those two objects is snips and which one is a shear?
The shears are located on the right-hand side of the photo. The snips are located in the center between the hacksaw and the hatchet.
Now, sir, I want to ask you about bag 10. Skip it. What was recovered from the 10th bag?
The 10th bag contained a large piece of tarp that was taped together, so multiple pieces were taped together to form a larger tarp.
A hacksaw with red-brown stains, a hatchet, a hammer, wire snips, shears, all covered in what appeared to be blood, a Tyvek protective suit, splattered with stains, towels soaked through with red-brown liquid, a carpet cut into pieces bearing similar stains, slippers with what looked like blood and clumps of hair on the soles. Investigators also searched the Walshe home. In the basement, they found blood. A broken, bloody knife. The bottom step leading to the basement was cracked. There was a hole in the ceiling plaster of the master bedroom, though investigators later determined it wasn't related to the case. They drained and searched the backyard pool. Nothing of interest was recovered, but the evidence from the trash would become the cornerstone of the prosecution's case. Because when the Massachusetts State Police Crime Laboratory tested those items against DNA samples from both Brian and Ana Walshe, the results were unequivocal. Ana Walshe's DNA was found on the hacksaw, on the hatchet, on other tools. Both Brian and Ana's DNA were found on the Tyvek suit. The physical evidence now matched the digital trail, the searches, the purchases, the disposal, and it all pointed to one conclusion. November 18, 2025, on the very first day of jury selection, Brian Walshe made a stunning move. He pleaded guilty to 2 of the 3 charges against him: misleading a police investigation and improper conveyance of a human body. In court, when Judge Diane Frenier asked, "Mr. Walshe, did you in fact willfully remove or convey the body of Ana Walshe or her remains, not being lawfully authorized to do so?" Brian Walshe answered yes. For the first time, he publicly acknowledged that Ana was dead, that he had disposed of her body, but he did not admit to murder. His attorney, Larry Tipton, laid out the defense strategy in opening statements on December 1, 2025. This was not a case of murder, Tipton told the jury. This was a sudden, unexplained death. He painted a picture of a loving couple planning their future together. They were texting about buying property in Washington, D.C., just days before Ana disappeared. On December 30th, Brian texted her, "Flight on time?" When she was flying back to Massachusetts. They were discussing purchasing a Porsche together. Then, in the early hours of January 1st, Tipton said Brian went to bed and sensed something was wrong. He nudged Ana, his wife. She didn't respond. The defense claims Ana died of what they call sudden death syndrome, an unexplained natural death. And Brian, already under house arrest for the federal fraud case, panicked. He wrestled with the fact that Ana was dead, Tipton argued. He concluded that no one would believe that his wife was alive one minute and dead the next. So he searched the internet for answers. He bought supplies. He disposed of her body. He lied to police. But according to the defense, he never thought about killing her. He never planned her death. He was simply a man who made terrible decisions in a moment of panic and fear. It's a bold strategy for a case with no body, no autopsy, and no definitive cause of death established in public record. But Assistant District Attorney Greg Connor wasn't buying it. "We will prove the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the premeditated murder of his wife, Ana Walshe," Connor declared in his opening statement. And then he began laying out the evidence piece by piece. Prosecutors presented a clear motive. Brian Walshe wanted out of his marriage, and he wanted Ana's money. Ana held over $1 million in life insurance policies through New York Life, a $1 million term life policy, and a $250,000 whole life policy. Brian was the sole beneficiary of both. She also had approximately $200,000 in her bank accounts. Insurance agent Mark Selvaggi testified that when Ana purchased those policies in May 2021, she had to undergo a health assessment. She received the highest health rating possible, submitting to blood and urine tests. She was in excellent health. Brian had initially tried to purchase life insurance on himself, but was repeatedly denied due to his pending federal fraud case. So Ana bought the policies instead, naming him as beneficiary. Prosecutors also revealed that Brian was aware of Ana's affair. On Christmas Day, his phone searched for William Fastow's name. Digital evidence showed he had been routinely visiting the Instagram page of one of Ana's male friends in December. After Christmas, Brian made divorce-related searches online. He looked up information about prior work, emergencies Ana had responded to, possibly to craft his story about why she left on January 1st. Prosecutors argued he had every reason to act: financial desperation from his legal troubles, knowledge of his wife's affair, and the humiliation of potentially losing everything in a divorce. The defense pushed back hard. They pointed out that wealthy couples often name each other as beneficiaries. When they have minor children, the surviving spouse needs resources to care for the kids. They emphasized that Brian's mother, Ana Walshe, is wealthy, and there's no evidence Brian desperately needed money. Defense attorney Larry Tipton also questioned the investigation itself during cross-examination of State Police Trooper Connor Keefe. He suggested investigators could have expanded their search of Brian's devices beyond the limited window of December 25th through January 8th. He invoked the name of former Massachusetts State Trooper Michael Proctor, who was the lead investigator on Ana's disappearance. Proctor was later fired for misconduct uncovered during his involvement in the prosecution of Karen Reed, another high-profile Massachusetts case. He sent inappropriate messages and drank on the job. Tipton wanted jurors to question whether the investigation was thorough and unbiased, but the prosecution had one more witness who would bring the human element of Ana's affair front and center. December 4th, 2025, day 4 of the trial, William Fastow took the stand.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Yes, my name is William Fastow, Fastow.
Thank you. And what do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a real estate broker.
And where do you do that?
In Washington, D.C.
And is that where you live as well?
It is.
And how long have you been a real estate broker?
Just about 20 years.
Always in the D.C. area?
No, actually up here in Boston for a few years, and then a hiatus, and then back in D.C.
And were you familiar with Ana Walshe and Brian Walshe?
Yes.
And how did you meet the Walshes?
Ana Walshe was referred to me by a mutual friend, Jem Mutlow. They were looking for a home in the D.C. area, and I assisted them in purchasing a townhome in Chevy Chase, D.C.
And did you know Ana or Brian Walshe before that?
I did not.
And where was that property located generally?
It was on 43rd Street in Northwest D.C.
And you said it was a townhome?
That's correct.
Can you just describe that townhome?
So it was a semi-attached townhome. One side of it faced on 43rd Street. It had a staircase that led up to a parlor level. It was 4 floors and had a 2-car garage underneath.
And who bought the home?
Ana Walshe.
And was the deed in her name?
I believe so.
And when did Ana close on that property?
March of 2022.
And did you meet Ana in person?
Yes.
And when did you first meet Ana in person?
I think a couple months before that, she had come up to Washington once or twice to look at properties.
And did Brian Walshe come with her?
He did not.
Had you ever met Brian Walshe in person?
No, I have not.
Did you ever speak with Brian Walshe?
Yes, we had at least one, if not a few, teleconference calls to discuss the property.
He met Ana Walshe in March 2022, when he sold her a townhouse in Washington, D.C. What began as a professional relationship quickly became close friendship, then intimacy. We became confidants, Fastow testified. Eventually, we engaged in an intimate relationship. They went to dinners. They spent time on his sailboat. She stayed overnight. By early summer, their relationship was serious. They socialized with friends together, though they kept the romantic side somewhat private. Fastow testified about the stress Ana felt in her marriage. Brian's federal fraud case was a big stressor, he said. It felt like it was holding up her life. She also told him about a heated argument over credit card charges she discovered Brian made for a sports memorabilia business. But Ana was careful about how Brian would find out. Fastow said she expressed great concern about the affair. Ana felt it was really important that when Brian was to find out about the relationship, that he would hear it from her. She had expressed great concern, and I think she felt it would be a strike against her integrity if he found out a different way. They had plans, big plans. They spent Christmas Eve together with friends. They planned to celebrate New Year's together on January 4th, when they would discuss their future. We'd had a number of conversations about what a life together might look like, what merging two families would look like, Fastow testified. But I'd always said to Ana that she needed to figure out how she wanted things with Brian and what she wanted that to look like for her life before we could make any commitments or decisions. His last contact with Ana was a text message from her on New Year's Eve. On January 1st, he sent her a photo of himself teaching his son to ski, a waving hand emoji, a question mark, no response. He tried calling her on January 2nd. The calls went straight to voicemail. Then, on January 4th, his phone rang. Brian Walshe, Fastow let it go to voicemail. I had not heard from her in several days and, frankly, I was concerned maybe he had found out and was calling to confront me. Brian called again. This time Fastow listened to the voicemail, which was played in court. In a somewhat upbeat tone, Brian said he hoped all was going well with Fastow. He was reaching out to anybody he could, because Ana hadn't been in touch for a few days, and he was wondering if Fastow had spoken to her recently. 3 days earlier, prosecutors allege Brian had killed Ana, dismembered her, and disposed of her remains in multiple dumpsters. And now he was calling her boyfriend, pretending to look for her. The trial also featured testimony from forensic experts who processed the evidence. Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab Specialist Davis Gould walked the jury through photos of items recovered from the trash. Red-brown stains covered towels, carpeting, a bathrobe, slippers. The slippers had trace materials, what appeared to be hair, on the bottom. Gould processed the Walshe family's Volvo, testing 40 to 50 areas for blood. 5 tested positive, including the driver's side seat controls and areas on the trunk mat. Red-brown stains were found on the driver's sun visor and the front passenger visor. Retired State Police Trooper Heather Sullivan testified about methodically searching through trash bags at the Peabody transfer station in January 2023. She slowly drew the blue and white hacksaw out of a brown paper bag in front of the jury, entering it into evidence. Police had said the saw was blood-stained. Brian's internet history showed he searched whether a hacksaw is a good way to dismember a body. Dr. Richard Atkinson, a pathologist, testified about his efforts to determine whether human tissue could be detected on any of the recovered items. He examined 7 pieces of rolled-up blue and white carpet with stains and debris. There was no autopsy conducted on Ana Walshe because her body was never found. But the DNA evidence spoke clearly. The Massachusetts State Crime Laboratory tested items against DNA samples from both Brian and Ana. Assistant District Attorney Greg Connor told the jury what they found. Ana and Brian Walshe's DNA on the Tyvek suit, Ana Walshe's DNA on the hatchet, Ana Walshe's DNA on the hacksaw, Ana Walshe's DNA on other items. This wasn't contamination. This wasn't coincidence. This was physical proof that connected Ana to the tools prosecutors say were used to dismember her and Brian, to the protective suit he allegedly wore while doing it. Perhaps one of the most chilling pieces of evidence came from Brian's own phone. Between January 2nd and January 4th, after Ana was already dead, Brian sent text messages to her phone. January 2nd, 2:33 p.m. Hello, Thomas, found the phone playing on William's bed. William said he forgot it was there. Haha. Okay, call anytime. January 3rd, 8:30 a.m. Where are you? I just called and it went straight to voicemail. Calling you in Viber now. Later. I'm calling work tomorrow if I don't hear from you. State Trooper Connor Keefe testified that these messages were sent from Brian's phone to Ana's phone, but they were never delivered. Ana's phone was never recovered by investigators. The last time Ana's phone pinged a cell tower was January 7th, 2023, in the area of the Walshe residence in Cohasset. Brian was creating a digital trail to make it look like he was trying to reach his missing wife, like he was concerned, like he had no idea where she was, all while her remains were already scattered in dumpsters across Massachusetts. 3 years later, Ana Walshe's body has never been found. Despite extensive searches of the woods near the family's Cohasset home, trash processing facilities, waterways, and surrounding areas, no remains have been recovered that could be definitively identified as hers through autopsy or examination. Prosecutors believe Brian Walshe successfully disposed of her remains in a way that made recovery impossible. The searches on his devices, how to clean DNA, how long a dismembered body takes to decompose, whether a body can decompose in a plastic bag, suggest he researched thoroughly. The dispersal of evidence across multiple dumpsters in different locations shows planning. The trash from those dumpsters was processed, compacted, and likely spread across landfills or incinerated. For Ana's family, especially her 3 young sons now in state care, the lack of a body means no funeral, no grave to visit, no closure. Her mother, Milanka Ljubicic, who Ana once credited Brian with saving after she suffered a major neurological event in 2021, now faces the horror of knowing her daughter is gone but has no remains to bury. The Serbian community in the United States and people in Ana's native Serbia followed the case closely. The Serbian consulate in Washington, D.C., released statements expressing how the entire Serbia is following media reports of Ana's disappearance, and we are all joined in praying for Ana's safe return, despite the latest grim developments indicating otherwise. Our hearts go out to her family, and especially to her young children, who deserve to be reunited with their mother. But reunion is impossible now. What remains is the pursuit of justice in a courtroom, where a jury must decide: can a man be convicted of first-degree murder when there is no body? As of early December 2025, the trial is ongoing. Brian Walshe has already pleaded guilty to misleading police and improper conveyance of a human body. Sentencing on those charges will come after the murder trial concludes. He faces up to 10 years on the misleading police charge, with a possible 20-year enhancement if convicted of murder. He faces up to 3 years on the conveyance charge. but the first-degree murder charge is what matters most. If convicted, Brian Walshe faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. Prosecutors must prove he planned to kill Ana, that this was premeditated murder, not a crime of passion or sudden act. The internet searches made before she died, the purchases of dismemberment tools, the methodical disposal, all of it points to planning, they argue. The defense has signaled they may ask Judge Frenier to allow the jury to consider lesser homicide charges like second-degree murder or voluntary manslaughter, which could allow for Brian's eventual release. Under Massachusetts law, he cannot plead guilty to first-degree murder on his own. The jury must weigh: did Brian Walshe kill Ana in a premeditated act, or, as the defense claims, did he find her dead and panic? They must consider: is the circumstantial and forensic evidence enough without a body, without an autopsy, without a definitive cause of death? The DNA on the hacksaw and Tyvek suit is powerful. The internet searches are damning. The surveillance footage shows deception. The financial motive is clear. The disposal of evidence speaks to consciousness of guilt. But the defense will argue: where is the proof of how she died? Where is the moment of death? Can you send a man to prison for life based on what he did after she was already dead? These are the questions a jury of Brian Walshe's peers must answer in the coming weeks. As Judge Frenier told jurors on December 5th, she expects about 2 more weeks of testimony before the case goes to deliberation. Ana Walshe was 39 years old when she disappeared. She was an immigrant who came to America with a dream and built a successful career through determination and hard work. She was a mother to 3 young boys who will grow up without her. She was a daughter whose mother will never see her again. She was a woman planning a future, a new chapter, a life where she could finally be happy. And on January 1st, 2023, in the early hours of the new year, that future was stolen from her. The hacksaw found in a dumpster, covered in her DNA, tells part of the story. The Tyvek suit with both her and Brian's DNA tells another part. The internet searches, the lies, the disposal of her belongings, they all tell pieces of what happened. But Ana's voice is silent. Her body is gone. Her sons have no mother. Her family has no grave. What they have now is the hope that a jury will see through the lies, will weigh the evidence, and will deliver justice. Brian Walshe sits in that courtroom, clutching a rosary, his mother Diana watching from the front row. He has admitted to disposing of Ana's body. He has admitted to lying to police. But he says he didn't kill her. The DNA says otherwise. The searches say otherwise. The timeline says otherwise. Soon, a jury will speak. And when they do, Ana Walshe's sons may finally have an answer to the question that has haunted them for 3 years. What happened to their mother? If this story moved you, if you believe Ana deserves justice, if you think her 3 boys deserve the truth, please hit that subscribe button, share this video, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Let's make sure Ana's story is heard. Let's make sure her life mattered. Because in the end, that's all any of us can hope for. To be remembered, to be valued, and to receive justice when it's stolen from us. Rest in peace. Ana Walshe. May your sons find healing, and may the truth finally come to light.